Hello, welcome to the Lately in JavaScript podcast. This is episode 50, now recording from a very cold country. Well, it's cold for me, I think. This time I'm recording from Portugal. I'm actually growing a beard so I can deal with the cold. No, not really. It's not that cold. It's just that I've been living in Brazil and I'm no longer used to this much cold, but I have here a more experienced person, Arthur Sosins from Latvia, which I suppose is a place that it's much colder now. Hello, Arthur. How cold is it over there?
Oh, it's really snowy, it's really cold. I was just getting to the store with the car, getting out quickly and back in. I'd better not go outside for now.
Yeah. Well, over here is it's warm, but since I'm not used, I'm wearing all these clothes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I put a net to protect further. But anyway, we are here to talk about JavaScript, and we are already in 2015, and we have already some very interesting topics, events to talk about. We are going to start precisely from the announcement of should we call it a fork of Node.js? It's io.js, and as you may see here, it is planned to have an initial alpha release on January 13th. And I tried to take a look at this, but I really could not see much differences, except for the reasoning for this fork is that these developers that started this project thought it would be faster if they carry the development independently from the development of Node.js. And well, okay, it's interesting because this Node.js is a reasonably large project. It's not a trivial fork. I don't know even how do they plan to do it in terms of having things that probably would not stop people from migrating from one project to the other. Just like, for instance, what happens with MySQL. There is the main MySQL development now being held by Oracle, and then there are other forks of MySQL. They try to keep on pair on features. So I don't know how do they plan to do this shell. Will they have separate development that adds features that are not available on the main Node.js project? Arthur, have you been following this new project? What do you think about this?
I don't know if the only added value is the faster weekly releases and making new V8 engine releases as fast as possible. I don't really see much of added value there. For production, for clients, I would rather go with a stable Node.js and wait them to implement other features on skip to new engines once they are stable enough and once they're confident with it. So for now, it seems more like of a playground. Okay, let's see, let's try what is going. But one thing that they're saying that it will be compatible with Node.js, so you, for now at least, would be able to switch there and check if any new updates bring any performance or maybe increase or something like that.
Yeah, well, if it is just performance, it's not really a big problem because, as you know, performance it just make things faster, not different. And but well, let's wait and see. I'm not really a big fan of forks uh, because it sort of dilutes the efforts of people that could be working together rather than competing with each other. And but okay, they had their reasons. They thought Node.js was not being developed by joint at an appropriate speed, so they probably have their own reasonings. Probably for them it makes sense. Okay, so moving on to the next topic. Now we're going to talk about an article about an article that, well, it's actually one of those articles that talk about recommended, um, uh, if not best practices, at least the practices that the author would think would be appropriate. In this case, it is talking about planning a front-end JavaScript application. Let's see, here they present 16 points. I'm trying to cover them very quickly, just so we can just reflect a bit on this. This mention first, verify if you have a working and stable data API, because the front-end server, the front-end part will consume the API, so it must be stable and sufficient for the needs. Then there is the second step. This is select software management tools, all sorts of tools like version control, documentation, bug registration, and keeping track of the tickets around bugs and so on. Then they mention create a foundational specification. Well, this is not really clear what they mean. What would be a foundational specification?
Oh, for front-end application, you would probably consider on which browser should people run. It's definitely think about either you are with the new browsers or trying to support
I see.
or something like that, probably.
Yeah, that's what you can see on this table. Some examples of platforms that they want to support. Then select software development process, which is more how do you want to go to develop your process or project, and how to organize the team and meetings and so on. Select the development platform and the host platform. This is curious because they mention here development, Node.js running locally. Staging, production host, Node.js running on models, IO hosts, whatever this is. And this is interesting because they mention planning a front-end JavaScript application. Then they mention Node.js as examples. Usually Node.js is on the server side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. They are just too attached to Node.js to forget that Node.js is not so much about front-end, but okay, something has to serve the APIs on the server side to serve data for the front-end. Then select package managers. One for the server side, another for the browser side. Select site and user analytics. They mention some tools here. Select error quality, select style code enforcement tools. And this is always interesting because there are all sorts of links and hints. And what else? Select an automated task running tool. This is more like those automation tools like Grunt and others. Select application architecture, structure, and corresponding tools and solutions. How I see, they mean what frameworks they will use, if they use MVC or what are the
Like
varieties.
JS or Backbone JS.
Yes, because different frameworks are more suited for different design patterns that they want to structure their project. Okay, and then like testing methodologies and tools. This is for testing this. There is nothing special to mention about this. Like code quality tools, and this one sort of is related with the previous because code quality often is related with testing. But in this case, they give an example of Plato, which is a JavaScript source analysis, probably to detect things that testing will not detect. Then define deployment strategy. Well, this is planning. Oh, I see how you are going to deploy your application to the server. Like package monitoring solution. Did I mention this Kendo UI? I'm not sure if this is a commercial tool. Yeah, I see. This is maybe to monitor new versions of the packages. Probably. It's like JavaScript error monitor solution. This is interesting, but this is interesting in theory because I never use JavaScript error monitoring tools. Arthur, do you use anything like this to detect, for instance, errors that are happening on the browser side?
In Countly where I work, we log them, and if something happens to the client, that we have to look at the log files, but we're not reporting them anything like that.
Yeah. I think there are some services that you can, when there are errors happening on the browser, they can log the errors to the server. I don't remember anyone specifically right now, but okay. I think this is the kind of thing they are looking for, and at this point. Hang on. I want to move to the screen. Okay, and then finally select performance monitor solution. This is to see if the service is running, but I mentioned pingdom because performance usually suggests measuring speed and things like that. But okay, pingdom can be useful to see if the service is up. I'm not sure if pingdom can be used for other things than just monitoring that. Maybe it is some feature. Arthur, do you use any all these steps in your planning, or you do not do that much detailed planning?
Actually, well, for the same company they're working, that lots of these steps are used and implemented and were thought about. Not all of them probably, but a lot of that made sense if you are like creating a large-scale application and building a business around it. Then this thing is a must.
Yes. Well, in theory, you do all this planning, but most developers find it a bit boring and let the managers do it.
Yeah, of course. I didn't mean like planning it all beforehand. It actually all came naturally, like blocks falling into the system, and it's all created itself.
Yes, I see. There are steps that sometimes are boring because they are sort of bureaucratic, but They are useful, and I think this article is just great to let you review your own practices and see if you are applying all these steps, or maybe there are one of these steps that is not being so well implemented. Now moving on to another interesting article, yet another list of topics. 5 traits of well-managed JavaScript. Let's review again very quickly what are these steps. First, dependencies are always declared. And this is I think you mentioned previously they would be like suggesting using require.js to declare the dependencies on the code, right?
Yeah, so basically you would need to choose some kind of dependency manager and use it. That way it would guarantee you that you have all the dependencies to run scripts that you have.
Yeah. And the second point is 30-part code is shamed.
So basically, if the dependency manager does not support this specific code or specific plugin, that you can like somehow manually insert or hack it into it.
Yeah. So something needs to implement those dependencies on third-party code and make them work correctly. And then third point is definition just separates from the execution. Yeah. It is more or less common sense. You are not going to mess things, but when you are starting programming, you always do things a bit more messy than you do when you are more mature. And the next point, dependency loading is async. Well, loading is always async, right? Or I mean, it's browsers load the scripts synchronously one after the other, and you can always use some libraries to load them asynchronously at the end. And finally, modules do not depend on globals. This is important to not have collisions of global variables between different libraries, or else it can cause a big confusion. And well, this let me, how they call it, well managed 5 traits. These traits are not, I don't think they are so evident, but not because they are not good, it's because there is a language here to describe them that they are not evident to whoever is reading the article. But in general, I agree with them. What do you think, Arthur?
Yes, more or less. They make sense. Whether to use them or not is, of course, is a choice.
Yeah. Okay, now moving on, now talking about an interesting library that sort of reminds me of Prezi. You know Prezi, that site? I think it's all done in Java in Flash, right?
Probably.
Yeah, but I've seen people implementing similar effects on text using JavaScript, because you can do all these things in JavaScript. So as you may see here, they have the different blocks of text on the page, and you can spread them in different parts of the page, and you can also move them individually, individual words, and what else? Zoom in. Oh, because page down of works. Yeah, but I was using a mouse wheel because it's simpler.
Yeah, F2 also shows the biggest picture that we have.
Oh yeah, you need to use F2 to toggle the zooming.
And you can also search for specific words. So it could take it to that word.
Oh really? Where are you searching?
And on Zoom,
Oh, I see. Are you using the search function of the browser or?
no, it's some kind of the library internal function.
Oh, F3. No, because F3 is the
Control F does the same for me. It's like they overriding default behavior.
yeah, but it seems to use. Oh no, it's not the. It confused me for a moment. I thought this is the internal search of the browser.
You're not using internal search enough. It's
Yeah,
different.
yeah, it's different. It's a different. No, it's interesting. So when you are presenting a big mess, you can always search for whatever is the mess you are looking for. Yeah, it is interesting. I'm not sure what is the way it is supposed to be used. It seems that you would scroll, you would compose presentations, dragging things on the screen. But well, in this example, it doesn't. Uh, to right and click on it. Oh, I see. You can just click on some part of the page.
You can use it like a whiteboard, like
Yeah. And can this be saved somehow? If you want to save this, how do you do it?
I don't know. That's probably not in the demo.
Mm, maybe there is a way it's not evident. But it seems neat. Uh, if you want to cause an impression and even some presentation that um, you want to present it with these Prezi-like effects. Okay, it's nice. So now moving on to another interesting topic. This time is about the
Netflix.
plans, for ECMAScript 7. There is uh, this presentation by Jafar Hussein from Netflix. Yeah, he's been working on the specification of ECMAScript. So he says he's a member of TC39, which is a working group for the ECMAScript specification. And well, this is a video here. We are not going to watch the video now. Just mention a few topics that they cover here. Basically, they say that ECMAScript specification will be. It's planned to be finalized by the middle of 2015, and in parallel, they are also working on the specification ECMAScript 7. And there are many things interesting here, but I think the one thing that got my attention is that finally JavaScript will have a way to write code that needs to wait for asynchronous events, actions that need to be executed, and they'll they will not be finished right away. One thing that they mention is I think it's a new keyword or new construct called await.
Yeah, can you click on a 30-second minute in the video?
It's 37.
Or maybe I can share a screen also.
Yeah, that will work too.
Yeah, do you see? Zoom.
Yeah, well, for some reason, Google Hangouts is not switching automatically to the, the screen of who is talking. So
So you don't see anything.
no, it's always switching back to me. So if you click, you need when you talk, remember to click on your own picture below. Can you click it?
Like this? I don't know. Yeah, I've clicked it.
Oh, but it's not working.
It's working for me. I see my screen.
Yeah, I have to do it on my end.
Okay.
Let let me try to not forget to do it, or else you'll be talking and nobody will be seeing you. So, oh, exactly. That's one example of what I was talking. You can uh, uh, use that await keyword, and it seems to return a promise or something. So promises become built-in data types. So a promise can be is an object that you can get a success or a failure uh, in case it failed for some reason. I think it can get an exception message or something. I'm not sure. I did not try this in practice. It is just a plan for ECMAScript 7, and it seems interesting because um, you no longer have to put all those callbacks, which used to be very, very ugly and make us much less productive because you have to get your head around um, lots of callback code, and sometimes you need the result of the callback code outside in the calling code, and that would not be possible. So now with this code, you can have a, a variable that can return the result of the operation, whether it failed or succeeded. I think that's the way it is supposed to work.
Yeah.
Because I listened to this talk. It was very interesting, and it mentioned promises and also observer objects, which are also part of the ECMAScript 7 specification.
This actually, I just built up in a little. This actually reminds me quite about hack language that's similar to PHP that also implemented something.
Exactly. Yeah. We talked about it a few months ago because Facebook created a hack language, a sort of evolution of PHP. They could not wait for the PHP core developers to implement the feature they thought would be interesting. Many of those features are probably not going to be even available on PHP 7, which is planned to be released by the end of this year, 2015. And the interesting part is that it's very similar to what Facebook Hack, as you mentioned, will implement in terms of being able to have code that acts asynchronously, but you put it as if it is synchronous. So you put that those await statements, and the execution will resume right after those lines. So you can write code that works asynchronously, but works as if it is synchronous. And this is great, I think. It is something that they've been begging for years because it was something that was making JavaScript less pleasant than it could be. Well, it is, at least in my opinion. What do you think, Arthur?
Yeah, I'm thinking quite the same. In some cases, you need to execute, I don't know, lots of asynchronous functions in a queue, and then you always need to create some kind of scheme, like using async.js or something like that to map them all. And but if you need to execute them sequentially, one after another, then it's even more a pain. So this kind of addition is great. You don't need to use it every time, but in some cases it will really make the job easier.
Yeah, well, I personally I think you should use it all the time. but now you have to wait for ECMAScript 7 to be available. And one interesting thing that they mentioned that sound a bit intriguing is about they use transpilers to test this specification, whatever they want. But this is intriguing because if they use transpiler to generate ECMAScript code for the currently available versions, it means that to implement a wait keyword, it would be possible already. I'm not sure if I'm interpreting this correctly, because if it would be possible, we wouldn't need ECMAScript 7 to implement this. I don't know. Maybe I'm interpreting this incorrectly. What do you think, Arthur?
Probably they have some kind of their own environment, their own sandbox where they're doing it, and it can't be executed in the browser. But if you look at the video, there are also examples in the presentation where they show how the code would be executed. So probably, yeah, they probably did it in reality and tested the functions.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe that part is not really being tested with transpiled code. It's just the parts that are possible, because I think it requires a JavaScript engine that has specific support for this. Well, I don't know. It's either that or I'm interpreting it totally wrong. Okay, moving on. Now we are going to talk about an interesting site that mentions the usage of certain libraries. It's called libscore. You go to libscore.com and then you type the domain of some site, and right away it shows you the list of libraries that are being used on that site. They mention scripts and their domains, and on the right side they show the number of sites they have found so far using those libraries. So for instance, Google Analytics, they found 559,000 sites using Google Analytics, and for well, there are all the others, but there are some interesting libraries here which are not supposed to be that popular, like this ML. In reality is a prefix that I use in my own packages. It's like a namespace. So just to avoid collisions with other libraries, I prefix it with ML dot and then the name of the package. And it says there are 53 sites using this package, which is interesting because I have no idea where are those sites, and when I click there it doesn't tell me which sites could those be. So I have no idea how they pull these numbers. Maybe it's something that is not evident. So if I could Google Analytics, what they just
Link to the official
into the Google Analytics site. Yeah. Well, this is curious. Maybe in the future they can disclose more information about these numbers here, where they got it. There are some. But anyway, what they say is that if you want to assign libraries to their official pages, you can, I think, go to this page and inform them. Yeah, yep, nope, modernizer, and so on. Well, this is interesting. So if you have a library that you want it to be recognized by the site by this name, you just go there and inform the URLs of those libraries. Okay, now Okay. Okay, next. Let me close all these pages here. We don't need them anymore. So now finally one last topic. Apart from the usual topics, we're talking about the JavaScript Zeitgeist initiative. Let me share the screen here. Basically, JavaScript Zeitgeist is an initiative of the PHP, actually, both PHP and JS classes sites. Okay, I think the zoom is okay now. So basically, this is an initiative to find trending keywords that are being that are related topics being searched by users. In this case, of JavaScript, because there is also the PHP version 1. And here it is a ranking that shows the trends for 2014. So basically, how this works is that the JS classes site records the keywords that are being used on search by the users, and then it elaborates a ranking of those keywords, and the new keywords that did not appear in the past years will be appearing in the 2014 ranking. So, for instance, the dollar keyword is the first, but in reality it appeared in rank 92 this year. This means that in the JS classes site, the users went there and searched for dollar. Dollar, I think it is a library submitted by a developer. So they were looking for things like this. So there are many other keywords.
Proper noun is interesting. I had a proper noun extracting class for PHP, so maybe I should port it to JavaScript too.
Yeah, that's also interesting. And when they are searching, they can either find the package there or not. So it is interesting to see opportunities for developers that submit packages to the JS classes site for eventual packages that do not have a package in the site so far. So you can see many others here: magnifier, user registration, JS webcam. I think that this is a package that is already there. Video cam kit, WebRTC, many others. So by now we are just recording this hangout, but there will be an article talking about this. This article was not yet published, so we don't know yet what will be the organization. But in general, what I do is try to gather these keywords in form of related topics to see is there a trend. For instance, if you have here magnifier and then there you have here blur effect, it seems to be image effects or maybe effects on page elements. This could be interesting to recognize there is a trend for people looking for image effects. And well, later the article will be published, and then we will see better what were the trends. Other than that, Arthur, did you notice any trend that you found interesting looking at these topics, these keywords?
First one that I've noticed is that there are a lot of MySQL requests, and it's probably due to a recent topic we discussed that MySQL now supports a REST API to query data, but to execute SQL queries basically. So people are a lot looking at JavaScript components that could take advantage of it and provide direct access from a front-end app. So that is something, that if developers are interested, they can create interesting components that would So I'll manipulate my MySQL database.
Yes, well, maybe that could be it, although I think it's a bit insecure to access access MySQL from the browser, because you would have to provide the password to connect to the server. Maybe they could be looking for Node.js components, not so much.
Maybe.
Not so much for the browser side queries. Okay, so we practically reached the end of the regulars, the new sections, new topics. So now we're going to move on to the usual topics related with the JavaScript Innovation Award. So for the JavaScript Innovation Award, JavaScript, we are going to talk about the nominees of October. They were voted on November. Then in December the results come out, so we can talk about them. And Arthur, which ones would you like to comment?
Share the screen. So the first one I'd like to comment is a package named the Query Dialog Ajax Content, developed by NDP Tricks from Romania. And what this package does, it retrieves the contents to display in a dialog from a server, basically a dynamic retrieves it via Ajax request. So this could be used also like loading a template or dialog from other remote source or something like that. So that's this one. That's why I like this one. And Andy got one book of choice by Pact for this package. The second one I wanted to comment is a package named JavaScript Holiday Dates by Pierre from France. And basically, this package extends the date object, JavaScript date object, where it provides an example where it basically calculates the holiday days. Try to see. Unfortunately, I cannot see the code here. You can see like get Easter, get back. I don't know what's the holidays, but basically there are some holiday names where you can provide them how to calculate them.
Yeah, because those are holidays. They always happen, but there is some kind of formula to calculate them because they are related. They are
like first Sunday of for that month and something like that.
So there is a way to calculate them, but not exactly a fixed day in the year.
Yeah.
So that one is from Pierre Folk. Okay, so on my behalf, I would like to comment an interesting package. Let me share the screen here. An interesting package from Pierre-Henri Soya. He developed a way to retrieve data from GitHub profiles and repositories. So it sends HTTP requests to the GitHub API to retrieve several types of information. This is interesting because GitHub is a very popular project by many developers host their projects there, and with this package you can retrieve information about those projects.
So a developer can like implement in their website to display all the repositories they maintain and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So on my behalf, that's often up because it's their own three packages. So let me comment now on the Innovation Award ranking. Oh, ranking for 2014. So we have already ended the year, but there are still some votes uh, to compute. But so far, the leader is Thomas Bjork from Sweden, and followed by David Castillo with. Sorry, Thomas had 4 packages in 15 points. David Castillo 2 packages in 13 points. Pierre Fouque 3 packages in 12 points. Jamie Bow 4 packages in 11 points. And with Jordan Marmolejo 2 packages in 10 points. And then several other authors with 1 or 2 packages and less points. In terms of countries, so far France continues to lead. It is in pretty good shape to win the Innovation Award of the year by country. There are 5 packages in 21 points. Then they're followed by Sweden, 4 packages in 15 points, by practically all by Thomas Bjork. And then Mexico with 2 packages in 13 points, Spain 3 packages in 12 points, Canada 4 packages in 11 points, Italy 3 packages in 8 points, Hungary 2 packages in 7 points, India with 2 packages in 6 points. Then Colombia with 1 package, 5 points, and Brazil 1 package and also 5 points. They are tied. So we still have 1 month to go. I mean, for computing the results, because the nominees of December were announced just a few days ago, and they'll be voted during December. I mean, during January, and then in February the results come out, and then we have finally the final list of winners by author and by country for 2014.
So, what to do to other authors? Will there be the similar contest this year?
So, what do you mean?
Well, should they start submitting for the new year? The country?
Sorry, I did not listen.
Like, will there be the award winners by country of 2015?
Yes, of course. Actually, it is already started because all packages will be nominated by the end of the month. So if they are published or ready in January, they will be nominated, of course. So practically, we reached the end of this hangout. It was very interesting. Many interesting topics we covered. I don't know, Arthur, if you have any final remarks, anything you wanted to mention?
All that I can say is that Happy New Year, all the guys, and let's get more active in 2015.
Yeah, exactly. I want to mention something very, very briefly. Is that in JS classes and PHP classes, I'm implementing a responsive interface, which means if you squeeze the pages, or you have a mobile phone, you may have a better view of what is being presented. Sometimes eliminating less important information just for the more important information not be squeezed. And right now, only the home page is adapted to mobile, so don't bother trying all other pages. There are many types of pages. You have to deal with one type of page at a time. I'll be announcing this when it is ready. Yeah. And I will write an article on this because there are many decisions that I'm sure other developers will be struggling. Which is the best way to implement a mobile site?
Well, they will trash you.
Yeah.
Or something important.
Yeah, well, for sites, we still need to go mobile on the web. Some people prefer applications, but the development of that is not trivial. You don't reuse much except for eventual APIs you have implemented. But for sites, you have to make. There are like three options to go: responsive, redirecting to a separate site, or dealing with distinguishing the user agent, and all those have some certain impacts. And I'll write an article to explain my decisions, and so people can evaluate them and maybe consider also their own options that may be different. Anyway, that will be a topic for a future.
You probably should also mention that the reason that you're doing it probably because of Google, right?
Yes, yes. Google is part of the reason, because this type of site is not really a site that many users will use from a mobile device.
Well, that's the thing.
Programmers usually have large screens and don't have these problems dealing with screens. But Google has been warning that they will eventually penalize sites that do not provide good user experience for mobile users. But I think the greatest benefit is if you have a site that is adapted for mobile devices, maybe you'll start getting more users from using mobile devices that you did not get in the past. Probably not so much to browse packages, but for instance to read articles on the blog, and so that does make more sense. So practically we reach the end of this hangout. I'd like to thank you, Arthur, for coming. And on my behalf, that is all for now. Bye.
Bye.